Good morning, everyone. My name is Marty Hicks. My website is helloextraordinarylife.com. Check it out for all the recordings of the previous calls of Wednesday Wisdom. There's a free offer there. There's other information about a 6-week course. You can contact me for one-on-one coaching. Lots of things to see, and I have some testimonials now on there, which I'm very excited about. One of my friends created a page for the testimonials to be on there. So that is there too, so you can see how I've helped other people and see if it's something for you. Today, we were just chatting about I'm getting married, and I seemed to create some confusion about that. People thought it was an invitation to the wedding. It was actually an invitation to this call, and I wanted to talk about how I got here, the short version of how I got here, because it's been a long road, and I've learned over the years that there are no shortcuts. It's through the fire is the only way out of it, and we can make it really difficult, or we can embrace it and just keep going through. And that's changing our habits and our behaviors, things that we look at and go, I keep picking the same kind of person. Talked about my friend referred to it as a broken boyfriend picker. I thought, I love that. I always called it a broken picker, but the broken boyfriend picker seemed to fit even more succinctly. So I have a lifetime and a history of picking abusive relationships. And I contributed in my own way to the abuse. It's not a one-sided street there. And over the years, I've learned to change those behaviors through discipline and persistence and walking through that fire. Often, what happens is we choose relationships based on our wounds and what's empty inside of us in an attempt to fill up what's the missing. It's an and, to heal the wounds. So we pick over and over and over the same kind of person in an attempt to heal. I call them the original wound from when we were children, is usually when they happen. It's an unconscious thing. We don't realize we're doing that. But that wound is the place that we act out of over and over and over, picking the same kind of relationships. And it's not just a romantic relationship, but that seems to be the bigger trigger when we get into those. It triggers that wound in a deeper way. And it's always that attempt to heal the original wound. And it's not always just one time of a wound. Sometimes it's a series of wounds that happen when we were children. The thing about that is that we spend this time trying to heal a wound when we don't have the skills or the tools to actually do that. We don't know how. And I kept doing the same thing over and over and over until I didn't. And each time when I would pick someone I would get in the relationship, it seemed to go a little quicker. I seemed to get the message a little quicker that it wasn't working. But often it was years into the relationship. And this series of abuse, and I'm trying to fix them. And I'm trying to fix me, and I can't fix me, and I can't fix them. And it's just that whole cycle over and over. So it takes a lot of, I tell people now to pick one thing about me that's not working, one behavior, one belief, one attitude at a time that's not working. If it's that I have no boundaries, learning how to set some boundaries. And if I do that just one, let me just pick one boundary that I'm going to set, then it evolves and it grows and it gets bigger because I have that ripple effect. And then each time I do that, I'm creating healthier boundaries. And I'm creating healthier relationships, but it affects everything. It could be one seemingly small change, and I look at that and go, how's that going to change anything else? But I stick with that one thing, And then everything else changes. And then I pick something else. The next thing that reveals itself that's not working. I know one of the patterns that often we get into is I'm going to change it all at once. I'm going to do everything all at once. And that never works. It sets us up to fail miserably, because if I do it all at once, now I'm going to change everything about me. And I wanted to do that. I had this idea of perfection. Let's change it, everything right now so I can be perfect. Well, whose idea of perfect am I trying to measure up to, first of all? And is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as perfection? And I have learned that I can say, yes, there is such a thing as perfection. And today it's shifted to be, everything is in its perfect order the way it's supposed to be, not the way that I think it should be, or the way that I've believed most of my life it should be. That's the change. It's all in its perfect divine right order. That has nothing to do with me. And sometimes I've learned that our behaviors are still serving us in some way for something bigger that we need to learn. And until we're done, we're not done. We just keep learning it. And we get the deeper layers of learning it over and over and over. We went to the, what do they call it, food truck mania last night, and we were talking to a woman, and Lou started doing his little song. He has a little song for me, and he was doing it in some other way, but that only I would know. And I looked at her and I said, oh, have you ever just met someone that he does this thing, and I'm totally joking about it, and it evokes violence in me. And I'm kidding. I'm making it a light joke. She looked at me very seriously, and she said, that's why I'm not married. Oh, wow. The wounds that live there that we aren't even aware of. And that's why we're here. That's why you're all here, because I believe there's no accidents. I've attracted you here because this is what we do. That wounding as a child, I heard a story. I'm going to tell it again. I read something the other day, and it helped me shift, and I believe we're all animal people. And someone had written an article about, he was at an event. I say he, I'm assuming it was a him. He saw this woman well together, all knowing how to look good. She was beautiful and dressed to the nines and dead. He didn't say those words. Those are my words. Dead on the inside. Like he knew she was just this walking wound. And he actually approached her, and they started a dialogue, and he got to the point where he could ask her, if you had adopted an animal from a shelter that had been wounded and neglected and abused, how would you treat it? And she said, well, obviously I would love it, and I would care for it, and I would nurture it, and I would feed it, and I would love it. And the list goes on. And he said, we are animals. We human beings are animals. How would you treat the wounded animal that lives inside of you? And it just struck me. I talk about the inner child, but I think of that wounded animal. If we're all animals in the technical sense, and we are wounded, why do we keep abusing ourselves? Because if it was an animal that lived with us, we would never do the same thing that had already been done to it. And that it just resonated for me that some people don't relate to the inner child, but we all love our animals, our fur babies. And so I'm going to talk about that wounded one. Those are the original wounds that happen when we're children. And we continue in our way trying to fix it, heal it, protect it. The protection comes out in all of these behaviors of control, fear, scarcity, wanting to fix someone, wanting to please someone. The list is endless. We all know it well. So I'll circle back to the pick one thing. Pick one thing at a time, because that one thing will have monumental changes that we won't even know until it's down the road. We're down the road, and then we can look back and go, oh, wow, look at how my life is different today. And I think all of you that are here can relate to that. I know each of you, so I think we can all relate to how much we've grown and changed by making small changes along the way. And that's how I got here. I thought for a long time I was broken and I needed to be fixed. And I spent a lifetime looking for that magical key, going into debt, doing all kinds of seminars. And one day I realized I'm a whole, complete human being. I have some wounds and I have some damage. And those I can deal with. But I'm not. I'm not broken in the sense of I need to be fixed. I'm broken in the way of I have some wounds that need healing. And as I've been able to heal that over the years, I attracted someone who had done a lot of his own healing work. And then when we got together, there was still some other healing. Some pretty minor stuff, but we began to recognize we both have certain behaviors that we didn't want to foster. We wanted to do things different. And we made that conscious choice. So that's probably the bigger point of all this is to make the conscious choice to do something different. My brain just went blank. I could ramble on and on, but I'll stop there. Anybody, what did you get? How did that land for you? Do you have any questions? Feedback, comments?
It's fun. This is Steph. It's funny because that's exactly what I've been doing in the past 6 or 7 months, which is why it was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I'm doing is, you know me for years. It's like I've done the same thing. I went through all these seminars. I went to try to figure out what was wrong. I've been to therapy. And the big thing that I found was that, one, I just wanted to be picked. And it went back to my dad abandoning me as a kid. Not literally, but like he didn't pick me up one time and I thought I was going to die because I was sledding. So I've really been working on the fact that not only was I mad at my dad, but I was also really mad at God because my dad's a minister and he picked writing his sermon over getting me. And I've recently just started going back to church, and I've really been working on healing that relationship with my higher power and with God and also with my dad. And since that's been working, I've been picking different men to date. And I haven't been picking the men that need to be fixed and need to be healed and need to become, as I call, my project. So when you're talking about little things, I'm like, that's what I'm doing. And I'm also really trying to work on my patience because I am horrible. It's like, I want it now. It's like, well, no, I need to I need to heal the wound before I just run out and like, oh, okay, let's find this guy. And all my friends have been like, Steph, be patient. And I'm like, okay, fine. So when you're talking about little things, I'm like, okay, I got it. Little things.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Good job.
So, yeah, it makes complete sense to me.
I love that. I love the perfect timing of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to hear that, Steph. That's
and obviously it's not as healed as I thought it was since I just got really I'm like, oh, I thought I'd healed this. Obviously there's still some stuff coming up.
Well, there are deeper layers. There is healing. There is healing. There's just deeper layers of it. If we're going up the spiral, we go up and we go up and we go up because we're digging out of that pit at the bottom.
Yeah.
So each time it gets a little bit shorter, the duration, but we've also been gathering tools coming all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
So we were taking all those tools and all that time that gets shorter as we go up and expand. That's how I have a visual of that.
Mm.
And it helped me to stop feeling like I was constantly doing the same thing over and over and over. She's gathering tools in healing. It's awesome.
I wish you would have gone in a little deeper on how you and Lou decide which behaviors you're not going to have in your relationship.
I'm happy to share.
I mean, I've been pretty close to both of you, so I've seen that, but that's something that people could definitely benefit from.
We're still recording, so I can absolutely share that some of that is, Lou and I were both very codependent, and we both like to rescue people. And when we got together, we were very, very clear about that, and we were very aware of our history, which was similar. We had very similar histories in our rescuing and fixing. So when we got together, we actually had that conversation. We know we've done these things in our life and in our relationships. We've picked really angry people. We picked really abusive people. And then that triggers our own anger and abuse. And so when we came together, we just put it out on the table. Here are the things that we've done that we've changed a lot, and we know our triggers. And there were some instances where when I first moved here that I was manipulating him, and I wanted him to stay home because I was feeling insecure and whatever I was feeling at that moment, anxious, I can't remember all of it, but I was having a moment and I wanted him to stay home and make me feel better. And he said, no, I'm going to my men's meeting. And I was pissed. You love your men more than me. And he's like, no, that's not true. This is what I'm doing. He didn't give me a lot of anything about it. And later he said, that was so hard for me to do when you were having your moment. But I knew I had to keep doing that because to stay home would be to rescue me. And if he had rescued me, then I would not have gone out and gotten my own life, because that's what happened as a result. Part of the result of that was I went out and started cultivating my own relationships here.
Yeah.
So it was one of the defining moments of recognizing, he wanted to. He wanted to step into that old behavior that he had done and stay home, and he didn't. Mm-hmm. And so we had a whole different result because he kept the boundary. Thanks for asking that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Marty, this is Jelly.
Hi, Jelly.
I just wanted to say, first of all, as you know, all this really resonates with me. But I also wanted to say something that I was thinking while you were talking, that if and until we heal our wounds, even if somebody shows up on our path, we ourselves will use deactivating strategies to not allow that to happen. And I think the example you gave between you and Lou really exemplifies that, because although you attracted somebody who had done his work, had you both together not continued to do your work to up-level the wounds a bit further in your union, then the same thing would have happened, although Lou was somebody that had invested in his, self-development and growth, and so have you. So I think that's a really important point, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you. My friend Zelly is more of the science mind, and she does all the research of how the brain works. So when we get together and share, I share from my my experience. She has her experience, of course, too, and then she shares from the research part. And it's a perfect blend, and I love that we can do that with each other because it gives me more insight into, I call it programming, and she calls it neuroplasticity, the scientific name, right?
Yeah.
And when then I start finding, I grab a book to read, and it talks about neuroplasticity, and I thought, really? the whole law of attraction. I'm in that space, and I'm getting it presented in a way that's not necessarily of all the scientific definition, which would bore me to tears. And I would just be like, I don't want to read that. But when it's presented in a way that speaks to me differently, then I just humored by that because we have those conversations, and then I'll pick up something, and it'll be exactly what we've been talking about.
And Marty, let me just say that you described neuroplasticity perfectly.
Awesome. So if you want to know more about neuroplasticity, go check it out. It's a different language to say the same thing, and it's been awesome to be able to share that. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? I will take the silence as a no. All right, you'll find the recording. I will post it on Facebook on Friday, and I will send it out an email also. And all of the other recordings are on the website, helloextraordinarylife.com, under Insider Calls. And they're all titled and in order. So if you want to listen to anything else, it's all there. Have a great day. See you all Saturday.
Yeah.
A big smile for that. All Saturday for the wedding.
Friday.
All right. Friday, yes. So we'll see some of you Friday.
Thank you, Marty.
Okay. Talk to you later. Have a great day.
Bye.